Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, welcome, everybody. This is the first day of my work week in that job that puts a roof over my head. Grateful to have that job because I know that on the norm, on my first day back to work, I could easily fly off like a bouquet of helium balloons, right? If I didn't have that amazing job that could switch it up for me. I have my hobbies, but in the moment I'm being stalled in my loves and in my hobbies by my own choice, 100% by my own choice, because it's important that I take in the lessons. And I do believe that my life is situated in a manner that accommodates what I'm trying to achieve in my life just absolutely perfectly. And I have to trust in that process for myself. It's been working for me, you guys. As we move a little bit, I become more open to some of these techniques, some of these ideas that have never come across my path. But I understand now, right? I have to work with what comes across my path. Had to work with a 4-hour video today. Oh my goodness. If I could just take in one lesson, that was the lesson. 4 hours. I still have 50 minutes of lesson to take in. But oh my goodness, what amazing content that it is. And it's content that I chose to spend my morning, right? Knowing that I have gotten ready into going back into this work week and this job that puts the roof over my head, that I'm ready to go. The laundry's done, the floor is swept, right? The cat is taken care of. The lessons have in. Mother Nature has been instilled to my system. That practicing of my craft, right? These are all things that I can check off my list, and it wasn't even, well, I can't say it wasn't even a list, but in my routine and in my patterning of how I set my work week up for myself, right? Have to say, sometimes I inspire myself, sometimes I chastise myself, sometimes I do the best I can, and those feelings of guilt and shame will surface, and then I have to spend a little bit of time of right and cheering myself up, and but that's what I have to do, right? Because if I didn't do that, it would only slow me up, right? These are hiccups that we bump into on our daily, right? Little bit of movement that we just do in our everyday, day to day. And if we can learn to better manage those moments, right, that frees up a lot of time. It frees up a lot of stress, right? It frees up, right? The only wrinkles I'm going to get are those smile lines, right? Because wrinkles is stress related, and because I've been so locked down in the lessons, and right, I'm working on this big trip for September, but for the most part I have been locked down in my lessons, right? And that sun, right, is not ruining my face at that time in my life where right, we're doing a little bit of fast tracking, a little bit of acceleration in that breaking down of that. I'm going to call it the athletic body, right? It's not that young body, it's not that mature body, right? But it's that start line. It's like when you hit your 40s, the muscles around your eyes, it's just naturally gonna weaken. And if you don't get yourself into your readers, right, you might end up like with me, with permanent readers. I didn't want to wear glasses. I wanted to wear glasses as a kid. I wanted that feeling of being the smart kid. But as an adult, oh my goodness, glasses did not suit me at all, and I didn't want to wear them. And when I had to wear them more often, right? I was not happy with that, and I stalled it out, and I probably, right, put myself in a position where I have to wear glasses for the rest of my life now, right? I still do my affirmations. My eyesight is getting better and better every day. I don't do them every day now because I've been doing them for years, right? And I'm still in my glasses, but maybe that's a reminder for myself, right? Things take time, and not to just out of disappointment of not seeing the evidence, right? To eliminate some of these techniques, because we understand some of these techniques, they take time. They take a whole lifetime sometimes, right? Maybe even more than one lifetime, right? The work that I do now, I suspect, I'm optimistic that my nieces will take that over, or my nephews, right? Okay, you guys. So we got this word presence this week, and I thought, well, maybe I would talk a little bit about my dad and his presence. You know, my dad had a very kind demeanor, and then I said, oh my goodness. But then I'd have to talk about my mother's presence, because my mother's presence was just as strong, if not presenting itself, it looked stronger, right? But my dad was smart. He made things work for him. And one of those things that he made work for him is because of his mindset. He didn't allow himself to get angry or upset, right? The only way that you could tell that he was displeased about anything is that he would bite his tongue, and then you knew, oh, okay, what did I do? What could I do to appease dad? Does he need a cup of tea? All right? Does he want me to light his cigarette for him? Does he need his feet rubbed? What does dad need? Right? But my dad was so sensitive. Like, everybody loved my dad. And, the only time I ever saw my dad truly angry is when a neighbor touched his kids inappropriately. And yeah, you got the whole neighborhood stirred up on that one. You talk about Transylvania and those sticks with the lights walking down the street, right? I remember that. My dad had me in tow in that experience, right? Another experience that when I saw my dad truly, truly upset is when he couldn't find us on the farm. Us kids had found an old set of wheels, and we were making a go-kart out of an old bike, and we wandered off onto this farm that had a gazillion sheds, and we spent the whole day out in the shed building this go-kart. And my dad came out and he was so angry. Sent us to a room, get prepared for the belt. My dad never ever laid a hand on us in his entire life. Like he said, the only thing my dad ever did was bite his tongue, and you knew he was displeased about something. But this one time he was so angry, and we didn't get it, right? Right? We thought it was because we were using the paint and we got paint all, but it was just an old shed, right? A shed that he didn't even know was on his property. But as an adult now, I get it. I understand, my dad, he's got this farm. He can't find his kids. His kids have been gone all day, and I put it right. We all did, but I was the oldest of the kids, and I took the, like as always, I took the flack for that, right? It was my responsibility, right? But we scared the poop out of my dad. That's what we did. As an adult, I can clearly see that's what happened. But as a child, we just saw that anger, and that anger was him not being able to control, right? That inner turmoil that we never got to see. My dad had a presence about him. He walked into the room, everybody would stop and everybody would scurry and want to talk to him, and he would be like a movie star, my dad. Everybody. I can't ever remember. anybody disliking my father, but at the same time, I don't ever remember our house ever being filled with people. Our friends didn't do sleepovers or come over for dinner. My dad didn't have his fishing friends or his cab driving friends come over. He had a couple of friends that he invited over, but it took a while, right? And they had to get to the point where they were almost like family to all of us before they were even able. My dad had, but these are things that as an adult that I understand and I get, but as a child, I don't, right? He was guiding. My dad had full control of that family. But again, I have to say, my dad was very sensitive that way, right? He knew how to work those feelings. Now, my mother, she was the extreme on the other end. She ruled the group, she ruled the house, she ruled with an iron fist, and she was probably the most unaffectionate person you ever met. Never kissed us, never touched us, never. Every once in a while, like the Queen of England, she'd let you kiss her forehead or rub her feet. But yeah, that physical contact was always painful, especially for me and my mother. And it's funny because that relationship that I had with my mother, my sisters didn't have that relationship with her. Despite my mother didn't treat them any differently than she treated me, but well, that's not true. We all had our positions in that family. But my mother had her presence. She walked into the room and it was a different kind of presence. It was an uncomfortable, unsafe, it was a different kind of presence for me, but yet it was no less presence. And she had my full attention all the time. I couldn't concentrate on TV. I couldn't concentrate it on anything except the safety of the situation. Whether that hand was going to fly or that shoe was going to fly or that voice was going to shake me in my feet, right? Presence comes in lots of forms. It really does. So, not to make any comparison, but Hitler had presence, right? Hitler walked into a room, right? Everything comes to a stop. Sometimes we feel it even in our breath, right? And each one of us gets to make that choice of where our attention is going to go, right? Everybody is vying for our attention. And just as much as my father could have gotten my attention, right? My mother could just as easily get my attention, if not easier, right? What we surround ourselves, we become. And somehow I fit right there in the middle, right? So I'm in there just like everybody else, bumping along, trying to figure out what those limiting beliefs are, because there's lots, right? And what are those amazing pieces of me? Because I chose differently, because I got to choose who my heroes were, who I was going to look up to, who I was going to listen to, right? Some people were the authority in that, right? Some people did have the presence in that, but they didn't have me in that because they were the evidence. They were pretty close, right? When you're close, your guards come down. And I think I have to say, my mother was pretty genuine in who she was. There was nothing phony baloney about her. You took her the way she was, and if you needed to be hypervigilant and watch out for yourself, then you do just that. Right? Because she wasn't paying attention to it anyway, in any way. And me and my mother got to have these conversations as an adult, right? I understand. I get it, right? And on my part, I moved past that. Grateful that I did get some good influence in that I'm not starting off at ground zero, right? That I was able to pick up a few lessons along the way that somehow, some way, here I am. right? So grateful for that because, without that, without that presence, without that person there to know how to get a message to me in a creative way, knowing that I was going to be hyper vigilant, knowing that I was going to digest in a different form, that I was going to take things personally, right? And I was going to stumble over themselves, right? And I had to know the signals. And for my dad, that was biting his tongue or biting his lip. Right? You go, oh, Dad, you want to, right? That presence that makes us want to listen to every word just so we can just stay safe in the moment, to know where we stand in the moment, or that presence that inspires us, that imprints on us, right? Makes us want to try a little bit better, right? Have a few lessons in our belt to be able to possibly even move a little bit better, move a little bit easier, make better choices. Okay, you guys, that's my good chair. I'm off to work, starting the job that puts the roof over my head. It gets everything. And, but I'll be back, right? I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. We're still on this word presence. We have one more day on that one. And then we're 48th word, you guys. We're getting close. 54 words. Everybody, have a great day. See you tomorrow.